Welcome to today's PAWSCAST.
Hi, we're pleased to welcome today Dr. Ann Murtagh, Associate Professor of Psychology here at Frostburg State University, and Dr. Holly Currie. She is the Director of the Center for Teaching Excellence, also at Frostburg State. And they've come to talk to us today about mindfulness. Now, we've been seeing a big shift in our society with how we view the world. We hear more about self-care, like that's been a mantra for the last 2 or 3 years, I think. So self-care, living in the moment, and of course, there's been tons of popular books written on the subject of mindfulness, like The Power of Now, for example. So Anne, what does it really mean to be mindful?
Well, being mindful means being fully present in the moment. Bringing your full awareness to right here, right now, without judgment and with compassion. It's important to think of mindfulness as being like a bird with 2 wings, full awareness of the moment, but also the compassion. And research suggests that awareness and heightened awareness without compassion is actually a harmful thing. Mm-hmm. So really important for both of those wings to be there. The non-judgmental presence, caring, as well as the full awareness.
Interesting.
And that sounds so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But our brains have such a strong habit of jumping to thinking, jumping
Yes.
away from the present moment and thinking about the past and thinking about the future, planning for later. And sometimes it's important to do those things, of course. Mm-hmm. But often we get wrapped up in our thoughts and we get lost in our thoughts and we miss kind of the actual events of our life, you know, mm-hmm. Like you could be talking with someone, maybe someone you care about a lot, and your mind is actually not completely there because you're planning what you're going to say next, or you're wondering how they're feeling about what you're saying, or your mind is going here and there instead of fully really listening to them and really looking at them and really taking it in. And so most of the time we're not fully there in our life.
Yeah.
Really watching, really listening. And with mindfulness, you're tuned in to the here and now. And in your body, your senses, but also noticing your emotions and your thoughts with compassion and without judgment.
Yeah. And I think that's a big issue in relationships when you want to be present and mentally there for the person, but then you're thinking about your grocery list or some random thought just pops in your mind and you've lost like the last 30 seconds of whatever the person was saying. Then you just have to nod and go, mm-hmm, and hope they don't catch you, right?
Right.
So, Holly, what do you think the difference between being mindful and meditating is? That seems to be like covered in the same synonym type thing, but It's really not, is it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I actually had to do a little bit of research to prepare for that. I practice mindfulness. I don't have a lot of experience with meditating, but there is a lot of overlap between the two. But mindfulness is really what Anne was saying, just trying to really be in the present moment. But you can think of meditating as being more of like training to be more mindful. And meditation is often a longer time interval that you practice it. It almost always has a trainer, so more like a group session kind of thing where someone's really leading you and helping you be trained. Whereas mindfulness, you can almost do anything mindfully if you just try to really focus on what you're doing. So meditating often has searching within yourself, answering questions about yourself, and kind of trying to get that enlightenment stage. And you can use mindfulness as part of that meditation process. But yeah, there's more to meditation, whereas mindfulness is kind of just taking a break and being in the present and not in the past or in the future.
So you can do mindfulness anywhere then?
Yeah, for the most part, as long as it's not something that really required, like sometimes it's hard to do it if you're like driving, right? Because you have to really be, but you could think of driving as being mindful if you're really focused on
Mindful
the road.
on driving.
But
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
It's hard to stay mindful while you're driving. Though.
Yeah, I tried. That's what I'm saying.
It's so automatic. It's really
Yes.
challenging.
I wanna turn on the radio or
Mhm.
like my thoughts drift. Yes, I can. So how can this help us with our communication with other people when we're being mindful in the moment?
Well, it can make a huge difference because if you're really with the person,
Yeah.
you're really listening, really looking at them and taking in the moment, you're so much better able to hear what they're saying, and you know, and also remember the part of compassion and non-judgmental acceptance.
Yeah.
So instead of, oh, I don't like what they said, or instantly jumping to judgment, maybe just listen.
Yeah.
Maybe just really open your mind and open your eyes and look and listen. And that is very, very valuable in relationships.
Right.
It can be very healing.
Yeah.
Because how often does someone really do that with you? Think about it.
Yeah.
How often does someone really look at you and really take it in and really listen to you?
Yeah.
Try not to judge too.
Yeah.
Without
That
judging,
aspect.
Yes, that's huge.
in an accepting way.
Mm-hmm.
That's really valuable in relationships, and it can transform relationships.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that compassion and non-judgmental approach that you're talking about?
It's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
of course, right?
Yeah.
It's really more about just being open, right? And kind of setting aside the judgment and setting aside the criticisms or the evaluation. And there's a term, equanimity, which is about accepting whatever comes without thinking of it as good or bad, or I like this or I don't like this, and just, this is what's here. This is just what's here.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could have that with another person, you know, instead of judging, this is who they are, this is what is happening now. And it is challenging to do that, but
Yeah.
have that be maybe your intention, to be open, to be accepting.
Yeah, I think in our world we're taught to be judgmental of others and of ourselves, and to remove that, that's a whole lifetime's worth of work, right? Like unwriting all of that stuff that we've been taught with being judgmental and being maybe dispassionate towards people. Yeah, okay. So Holly, how do you think this can help us with our learning experiences?
So effective learning actually is pretty dependent on well-being and overall health. So there's going to be a lot of overlap between the benefits of mindfulness, looking at well-being and learning in general. So neuroplasticity, that's the process in your brain where, you know, it can kind of restructure itself as you're learning things. And that is known to be disrupted by chronic stress and anxiety. So mindfulness can actually help us manage stress and anxiety better. And it can help, a lot of stress and anxiety really comes from the fight or flight response. So, you know, this response has been with humans since we first began. So it's deeply ingrained in us through evolution. But when you think about it, it's not that helpful. Like when you think about you have an exam and you're really stressed out about the exam, preparing to run from the exam isn't going to help you. And preparing to fight the exam isn't going to help you. But when you feel stressed out, you still have the response to prepare, which is higher blood pressure, sweating, tense muscles, stomach upset. That's a big one when we feel nervous, right? Our stomach gets upset. That's all really preparing us to physically do something, which we don't really need for the exam. When you practice like the deep breathing that mindfulness often involves, it shifts, and I always have to look up so I get the correct nervous systems, right?
I understand that.
But it shifts us from the sympathetic nervous system. So that's the side that pushes you to fight or flight, and it shifts you to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. So it actually has a physical effect on you that can bring that blood pressure back down, and get your stomach back to a normal digestive pattern, which can help you be more prepared for the exam and think more clearly too, because you're not running on like pure adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
So there's that aspect of it. But also mindfulness practice can help our attention span, right? If you do it regularly, it will become easier for you to pay attention and focus, not get distracted, which can be a problem when you're taking an exam.
Yeah.
Or just trying to study or learn.
Right.
I'm
sure we've all had that experience where you've read a paragraph, you get at the end and you're like, I have no idea what I just read. I have no idea.
Right, you start thinking about other things.
Yeah.
And there's actual scientific studies to show. There's one that shows that just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice improves GRE scores, and they actually tracked the mind wandering while people were taking the GRE, and it decreased the amount of time they spent with their mind wandering while they were trying to focus on it.
Oh, and that's really good, especially for timed tests like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a friend who she would say, the fight or flight response is really great if you're getting chased by a bear through the woods, but if you're not getting chased by a bear through the woods, it can be really something a big stumbling block for daily life stuff.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
Right, yeah. So, are there any other benefits that you guys can think of with mindfulness?
Yeah, I'll just share some of my own observations. Well, first of all, and this connects to what Holly was saying too, when you're more fully there, you take in more information, right? About yourself, your own thoughts and feelings that are coming up, and the connections between them and what's happening. You understand yourself better, you understand other people better, you learn better, you're able to focus better because you're there, right? But also I find that I'm more spontaneous, right? In the moment, I'm more open to be spontaneous. I'm more spontaneous. I feel freer in my life. Food tastes better. I don't know about you. One of my favorite things is eating. Food tastes better. I appreciate it more.
Yeah.
I feel closer to people because I feel like some barriers have come down. And there's less judging. And, I laugh more. I think that's really true. Life feels very much richer to me. This connects also to what Holly was talking about. There's some research where they look at the brain and they can see, something, there's stimulus and response, right? Something happens and we react. And often when it's something threatening, it's like what Holly was saying, like a fight or flight kind of reaction. It's like reflexive. It's so fast. It happens so fast. Research suggests that with mindfulness training, there's actually, the brain actually develops the ability to pause before that reaction. So there's kind of like a buffer zone between that instant fight-flight reaction and the wiser parts of the brain. And those lower parts of the brain that are reflexive and reacting are more strongly connected to the wiser parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, where our judgment and our wisdom, our compassion, we have more access to that. So the studies can actually show something is happening in the brain that allows there to be a pause between stimulus and response where you can go, oh wait, I kind of want to do that, but maybe I should do this instead. So instead of reacting, you're more reflecting.
That makes sense.
So that it totally connects with what Holly is saying as well. So in other words, we can bring more wisdom and more compassion to our life, to ourselves and other people, especially in times of stress.
I really connect with that because in my mindfulness practice, I've definitely noticed that I'm spending less time angry, frustrated, in those negative emotions. I recognize that I'm having them, and I think about why am I having them, and I figure out an action plan for that, and then I can let that go and do happy things that make me happy, and I can feel good again. Because living in that anger and frustration all day because somebody cut you off or something like that, it doesn't serve any purpose. Yes, you've just ruined your own day.
Yeah. It's not like you can ever get rid of anger or
Right,
frustration
right.
or irritation or sadness or that's being human.
I'm a redhead. I get the anger.
You're never going to get rid of those things.
Yeah.
But you can cope with them differently. You can
Right.
have a different perspective on them.
Yeah, I agree. And are there any things that you would like to add?
Yeah, the emotion aspect of it, right? Like we were saying, a lot of times you're kind of driven by your emotions rather than taking time to sit back and think about, well, why am I feeling this way? Is this really the best way to be thinking about it? I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about how we're reacting instead of just acting. Like we're going off of what our emotions are telling us to do. So that can be a real struggle because, if we're living in our emotions, we're living in that fight, flight, fear, freeze response, and just not necessarily doing something that's logical. Like when you were talking about taking a test, it's not logical to have sweaty palms when you're taking a test or being able to focus.
Yeah, the thing that is that I like to think about is your thoughts, your feelings, right? What your emotions at that moment, they will pass. If you just keep telling yourself this is the moment right now, but I'm not going to feel like this all the time. So that's the part with the help with your emotions that I like.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And what are some ways that we can practice mindfulness?
Well, like Holly said, meditation is a way to train your brain. Because remember, your brain has strong habits. The habits are jump here, jump there, think about it fast. What am I having for lunch? How long is this going to take? Like some people call it monkey mind. It's jumping from one thing to another.
I love that.
And so for me, meditation is a way to train my brain to stay. So I do mindfulness meditation. Start out by noticing the breath and staying with the breath. And the breath is what we call an anchor. In other words, it keeps you in the moment. If you stay, the breath is always changing, going in and out, and you notice it in different parts of your body. But if you keep your awareness there, it keeps your mind from jumping around so much. It still will. Yeah. It still will, but and then you just gently notice and just gently bring it back to the breath. And it's a way to train your brain to not constantly jump around. And then, usually after a while, I stop paying attention to the breath and just kind of sink into a peaceful state that is, really wonderful and beneficial for me.
Just to not have the thoughts. Because we have that constant stream of consciousness going all the time, just to have it turned off for a little bit.
And it feels like it pulls me away from, I think of it in a spiritual way, my soul, or, I think that God is within all of us. And excuse me if that doesn't agree with some people's perspectives, but it connects me, it allows me to connect with that deeper part of myself instead of being pulled constantly, and that's so stressful, to allow me to stress and to sink into that deeper part of me and connect with that. And once I've done that, that guides me all day. Yeah. And if I don't do it, I totally miss it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I try to make that a part of every morning. But sometimes things pull me away, and I notice the difference. Yeah. So it feels like there's a kind of wisdom and compassion that I take with me after doing that. Yeah. But it also enables me to take that mindfulness throughout the day and to I forget a lot, but I keep coming back.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think regardless of someone's spiritual practices, like they can look at it as God, a higher power, even like a universal truth, or
force.
Yes, the force. Yes, anything. Just like the calmness, the stillness, the individual soul. Yeah. And you can apply that to yourself and your own experience in a way that that can be very individualized. Yeah. Nice. Holly, do you have anything that you would say that would be a great way to practice mindfulness?
I like doing short periods of it and just focus on my breathing, how that feels. But lately I've also been liking to do the boxed breathing, where you breathe in for like 4 seconds, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4 again. I also like the body scan, where you start at the top of your head and you think, well, how does that feel? And just go through the whole body. So those are my favorites.
Yeah. I had this weird realization a while ago with the body scan thing, that when I'm angry or frustrated, I bite my tongue. And I can actually like hurt myself because I'm like holding it in.
Yeah, that's why I like it, because sometimes you won't be aware that you've been like clenching your fist for a long period of time. And when you do that, you're like, oh, why have I been holding all this tension?
Yeah. Yeah. So those are your favorite practices, just focusing on the breathing?
I also do mindful walking.
Oh, yeah.
Just walking slowly, just really aware of the movement. And for people who, like you mentioned, ADHD, like sometimes mindful movement might be a way to go, because there's more activity involved, so it's a bit easier to stay focused, but you just really notice all the movements of the body. Most people walk slow when they're doing mindful walking, but it doesn't really matter about the pace so much. It's more about staying with the body.
I love doing that. That's probably one of my favorites. I go out okay, so if y'all haven't been outside in Frostburg at night to look at the stars, y'all need to take a break and go look at the stars at night, because that's my favorite thing, to go out and walk underneath the stars. Last night I saw 2 beautiful fireballs come down, so it was just such a blessing to be able to experience that, and just so peaceful, relaxing. You're getting that physical activity where you're getting that excess energy out of you. Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, walking is a good thing too.
Have you ever been to the Labyrinth at Allegheny College?
I have not, but I've heard a lot of people say wonderful things about it.
You would probably like it, because it's on like little pebbles.
Yeah.
And like the sound, I really like the sound.
The sound,
You
yes.
can kind of focus on that as you're walking through it.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I heard that there might be talks about a labyrinth up here.
We would like to get one, but we have to kind of raise the funds for it.
Yeah.
But I actually do have, I just got it, a portable one. So it's just like a mat that you roll out and then you can walk on it. So I just got that, and I have to still figure out all the details, but hopefully we can store it at like the library, and then people can check it out when they want to
Coming
use
soon
it.
to you. Great. That's wonderful, Holly. That's exciting. So, so we were talking about the ADHD. So I have the ADHD, in case nobody noticed yet. So my mind is like a ping pong ball sometimes. It's here, there, everywhere. I can think about multiple things at once. It's exciting. Keeps me going. But what would be some suggestions for how to combat that, to be mindful? Because I start out in the mindfulness and I'm doing the breathing, and then I'm thinking about the grocery list, and then I have to take the car to get it fixed, and then I have to do this and this and this, and I'm planning out my day, and I'm thinking about a song that's stuck in my head, and the paper that I have to do, and like all of it is just suddenly there. So how do we stop that?
One of my favorite teachers is Pema Chodron. I've never met her in person, but just through her books and recorded meditations. And she talks about this. She doesn't say that she has ADHD, but she says she has a very busy mind.
I like that.
And she just encourages you to be with whatever's there. Like I noticed you mentioned combating it.
Yeah.
That's a judgment, right? That there's something wrong with your mind, right? Just being with whatever is there. And when you notice that you're not focused on your breathing, just gently bringing it back, smiling, saying, there I go again, But again, even that sounds a little judgmental, but just, this is my active mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gently trying to come back. And no matter what you feel like it was for you, sitting still, for me, sitting still is an important part of it. Sitting still and attempting to keep your mind on the breath is really helpful. Research suggests that even for a few minutes, and even if you feel like you weren't really successful or you didn't really keep your mind on your breath, it's still beneficial. It still has the benefits for you.
Yeah. Would you have anything to add to that?
Just keep practicing. The more you do it, but be compassionate, right? Don't judge yourself. I think sometimes the term that we use is notice. Oh, there's a thought.
Yeah.
There's a thought, but just notice. But it's not a big deal. Just direct your focus back and just keep trying.
Notice the thought, let it go. And I've noticed for myself that when I do that, it does start to calm down and the mind does start to relax, and then I can focus on the breathing. And the more I practice this over time, like you guys said, the easier it gets. It really does, because that's been a struggle for a long part of my life, to be able to be in the moment and enjoying what I'm doing and focusing and letting it go. That's been really helpful for me. So, would someone like to lead us? I think, Anne, you were going to lead us in a mindfulness activity.
Sure.
I'm excited.
I would love to do that. Okay. So, for those who want to, and it's fine to listen along, those in the audience who might want to just listen along, that's fine too. But if you want to do the mindfulness activity, just settle into a comfortable position for yourself so your body can remain still for a few minutes. It's fine to move or cough or whatever if you need to, but trying to stay still basically. And you can close your eyes or lower your eyes to a point in front of you and let your eyes rest there. And then follow the breath as it comes in and goes out. Just let your attention ride on the breath as it moves, rises, and falls. And you'll notice thoughts popping up. How long is this going to take? What's for lunch? What am I doing later? When you notice, just gently trying to guide your mind back to the breath. If paying attention to the breath is not comfortable for you somehow, you could pay attention to sounds close by and farther away, or some other thing like the weight of your body in the chair. The idea is to let your attention rest on one thing, and this helps to calm down the parasympathetic nervous system. Helps to calm you. And then just noticing what thoughts are coming for you. What thoughts are here? What's on your mind? Maybe you carried some threads or worries or concerns with you as you got here. Just noticing. And also noticing what emotions are here for you right now. They might be pleasant, or they might be unpleasant, or some mixture of both. Just noticing what's here. And also your body, just noticing your body right now. There's no need to judge any of these things as good or bad. Just trying to open to whatever is here. With an open heart, accepting, and just touching base with yourself. Just checking in. Or coming home to yourself. And then you might want to take another nice slow breath as we bring this brief check-in to a close. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. And then noticing, just think for yourself. What did you notice? Just observe what that was like for you. The reflecting part is an important part too. Would anyone want to talk about what you observed or what you noticed?
I needed that. I haven't been doing that enough.
Yes, it did feel good. I was able to shut off the thoughts and just relax, and you have the most peaceful voice.
That's why I said she's the one doing it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much for that. That was very relaxing. And I was able to, when the little thoughts popped in, like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I was able to, okay, notice them and let them go. And they let go. And they wandered off and did not come back. Like right now I'm thinking, now what did I need to do? Yeah. But it'll come back when I need to remember it. So thank you for that. I hope everybody else had a good experience out there too. So can you guys talk to me about what resources are available to students and staff on campus for mindfulness?
Well, we have the LibGuide. How do
Yeah,
you
there is
pronounce
a
that?
LibGuide. There is a LibGuide. It's on the library's website. They've compiled a lot of books, websites, and things that you can go to all in one place.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do people find that? Can you remind
The
me?
library has a link for all LibGuides. So there's LibGuides on various topics. So just go to the library website and it should be there.
That's good to know. Any other resources that you guys can think of?
I made some notes here. So there's apps, right? Like Calm and Pacifica. Those are pretty popular. I guess those won't be campus resources though. So,
We can talk about like what's available to the community too.
So Amazon Prime, like if you have that, the free videos that come, there's different mindfulness practices on there. YouTube, SoundCloud, but also hospitals offer mindfulness programs, and a lot of times those are for managing pain, like an alternative pain management.
Okay.
So look at the hospitals that are in your area. And insurance companies also now offer, like medical insurance companies offer information on how to practice some mindfulness because they know the benefits to your health.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's so much on the internet. I mean, all my favorite teachers, Tara Brock, Emma Children, Jack Hornfield, you can go to their websites and they have many offerings, free recorded podcasts and meditations, but also links to other information. And there's so much on the internet. It's overwhelming, actually.
Great. Would you be willing to give us the links to those that you just mentioned, and we can put them on the page for the students to access? That'd be great. Yeah. And Holly, you mentioned social media and the apps that are available, but I wanted to ask you, how does social media affect our mindfulness? I mean, it could be good if we're using those, but
Right.
how does Facebook and Instagram and Twitter?
I think social media and just having your phone all the time, both, I think they make us a little less mindful.
Yeah.
As I was walking over here, I was texting, I was on my phone, and I think before we had all of that, you had more opportunities to be mindful.
Yes.
Like you could have just walked here and noticed what that was like and been mindful of that and kind of had a nice relaxing time. You go to a doctor's office and you sit in the waiting room for a long time and you get on your phone. So I think like scrolling through social media isn't a particularly mindful thing to do. And the other thing about it is often what you're seeing is like news related, and it can be very stressful.
Yeah.
And if, every time you have a second of downtime, your instinct is to go for that phone, you really are giving yourself less opportunity, less time to be mindful.
That makes sense, because I can sit down and be looking at some sort of social media and look up and there's a half hour going, what just happened?
Yes, you really haven't been aware of the moment. You're really in that, whatever it is you're looking at, you're pretty in it.
And I can't really tell you what I just looked at either. Like, there was some interesting stuff, but not so much that it impacted my life personally.
The other thing that's kind of bad about social media, if you get too much of it, is in the short term, it feels like it's good. Like it feels good, but really it's not. So it's kind of misleading in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes complete sense. So I just want to make sure that we haven't missed any topics that you guys would like to talk about. Is there anything you would like to add?
I would just like to talk about an event that CTE is currently planning.
Okay.
So we're planning what's called Be Well, Learn Well Week. It'll start April 17th, so next year. And we're going to invite all campus organizations to sponsor some type of activity, to get involved some way, and really focus on how well-being is important for learning.
Yes, it's very, very interconnected.
Right.
Very
So we're going to invite instructors in their classes to kind of do activities that week.
Nice.
We're going to try to train instructors on how to promote well-being in the classroom. So just stay tuned for more information as we plan it.
Nice. Thank you. Any other topics that we need to cover that we missed?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for you both coming to talk to us. Thank you for that guided activity. That was wonderful. You guys can go take a nap now. So I just wanted to say that we really appreciate you guys coming in today to talk to us about mindfulness and how we can be more mindful. So that's something we can go out and start practicing today. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please check out our other ones. We have a whole bunch of different topics that you can peruse. And we've had a lot of fun doing them. So I hope you guys have had a lot of fun watching them. Thank you all for watching today.
Thank you for being a part of our PAWSCAST. This health and wellness podcast is brought to you by the Prevention Center and the Peer Education Network at Frostburg State University. If you would like more information about our programs, visit us in Pullen Hall 109 or call us at 301-687-4761. Or you could also send us an email at safeoffice@frostburg.edu.